everybody. In today's video, I'm talking to you about the one mistake that sellers sometimes make that can cost you thousands of dollars on the sale of your home, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars, and maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you're thinking of selling your home and you don't want to lose a bunch of money by making this one mistake, stay tuned because I'm going to walk you through why having a listing agent who is not local to the area can cost you thousands of dollars. Okay, so let me begin by saying the one thing that can cost you thousands of dollars on the sale of your home is hiring a seller's agent, a listing agent who is not local to the area where your home is located. If you have a house, say in Flagstaff or Sedona or Cottonwood, and you hire an agent who lives in Phoenix or Tucson, for example, they might be telling you, oh yeah, I can sell your home. I'm licensed to sell anywhere in the state of Arizona, and that is true, but that mistake can cost you thousands of dollars on the sale. And let me tell you a few reasons why that would be. For one is that the local agents know the area where your home is, right? So say I live in Sedona, so I'm very familiar with Sedona and the towns in Verde Valley that neighbor Sedona, like Cottonwood, Cornville, Rimrock, Camp Verde, Clarkdale, because I live here, and those towns are actually where I go to shop for my items, where I do a lot of transactions. So I'm very familiar with those towns, and especially Sedona, because that's where I live. Now, also, I'm familiar with Flagstaff because I lived in Flagstaff before. I had property in Flagstaff before, and I actually worked out of a Flagstaff office for several years before I moved to Sedona. Same thing with Phoenix. I lived there for years. I could sell in Phoenix, and I sell in Prescott, but I tell people I'm not an expert on Prescott because I haven't lived there before, but I have local partners in my office that we can co-op, we could co-list, or I could send my partner to do an appointment to list your house. Because I live in northern Arizona, I have contacts with Flagstaff agents, Prescott agents, Sedona agents, because the Sedona Berkshire Hathaway office is kind of a local hub to some of the other surrounding communities. So we all know each other, and I can easily partner up with somebody if you're not looking, say, in Sedona, Verde Valley, but yes, I want to sell my house in Prescott. So finding somebody that is not maybe right in your town, but is close to your town, that is very important because, of course, we know the area, like I'm saying, we know the issues of the area. Like, for instance, if somebody's looking in Sedona and they're saying, well, I want a short-term rental, I can say, okay, well, you don't want to go here because this HOA restricts it. So because I live here, I'm familiar with a lot of the rules. Or if you give me an address of a home and say, why is this home so cheap? I can pull it up on the map and say, oh, because it's in a flood zone, you know, but somebody else local might not know that to bring that up or to think about it. And it might not be important to you, but if it's an important issue, a local agent will know about it. So the other thing is like water source, you know, people up in the northern part know to look, is it sourced by city water? Is it on a private well? Is it on a private water company, a shared well? We'll know to look for those kind of things. And if you're selling your house, we'll also know how to put the proper forms on the listing service so the other agents can see, oh, it's on a well, and then there's the well disclosure already there, and they won't have to hunt down that information. So just the knowledge itself of the local agents is very important, and you don't want to make the mistake of finding someone who is not knowledgeable, because down the road you might even get sued if you've got an agent that doesn't know a specific nuance of the area and they admit that from disclosing it to the buyer, and years down the road that causes a problem, they could come back to sue you. So that's another side note about hiring a non-local agent. So the other thing is that this is probably the most important thing, that the local agent, like say me or any of my colleagues in my office, we work in Sedona, we're going to list your house. If you're selling in Sedona or Cottonwood, for example, we're going to sell it or list it primarily in the listing service for the Sedona Verde Valley Association of Realtors. So you could have an agent from Phoenix say that, oh, I'm going to put it on the Phoenix Association website, the Phoenix listing service, and that feeds to Zillow, and that feeds to Redfin and Realtor.com, so everybody can see it. And that is true. That is certainly not false, but it's more important to get it into the primary listing listing service of where the house is located. It's like, say you're selling a house in Sedona, you want it first to be in the Sedona Verde Valley Association of Realtors. You could list it in Phoenix. A lot of times if I'm listing up here, I will also list it in the Phoenix Association, because then there are a lot of people in Phoenix that bring their buyers up here and those agents can see it easily. So a lot of times I will list in both because I subscribe to both. I actually subscribe to Sedona, the Flagstaff area, Prescott area, and Phoenix, in addition to Arizona Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. So the other thing is, if you have a buyer that is in Phoenix and they're not willing to join Sedona Verde Valley Association of Realtors to get your house that kind of exposure, you're wondering, like, why are they so cheap that they won't spend $800 to join the local Association of Realtors? The possibility of making a $20,000 commission. Like, wow, is that the kind of person you want listing your home? But anyhow, so very important that your home is listed primarily in the local Association of Realtors, and let me tell you why that would be. So the first reason is because the local Association of Realtors is where all the local agents work, and that's where all the buyers are coming in. The local agents will have buyers from not only looking in Sedona, but buyers that are looking out of state in Sedona, buyers that are looking from Phoenix, buyers that are looking from California. I have all of these clients coming in from all over the place, and so I will set them up on a drip campaign in the Sedona Verde Valley Association of Realtors when they're looking in Sedona or Rimrock or Clarkdale. I will set them up on a drip, and then I don't do anything else. Or I do, but I mean, I don't have to do anything else because they're on a drip, and then when something new hits the market that meets their criteria, say, oh, I'm looking at, $1 million to 1.2 million, and it's gotta be, 1,500 square foot with a pool, and it's gotta have a great view of this. I will have all that in the MLS, and as soon as that hits the market, it will email that buyer example or a listing of the home so that they can pull up the report immediately, either depending on how I set it up. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to see it every 5 minutes, but send me once a day. All the new listings are once a week. So immediately all of those buyers that have been looking in the local area will see your house as soon as it comes on the market. And remember, something in real estate is often your first offer is the best offer, because like I say, there have been people that have been looking for a long time, and then suddenly they see it on their local agent's drip that they get in their email inbox every single day. So that is very important. Now, an agent could say, well, if it's in a Phoenix MLS, they'll find it in Zillow and they'll find it in Redfin, and that might be true. But there are a couple things to know about this. First of all, is it makes the local agent have to do a lot of extra work. First of all, it's embarrassing when your buyer texts you, hey, what about this listing? And you're like, I can't find it. It's not in the MLS. I can't see all the details now, so I can't see what other agents have attached to it. Often you will see a seller disclosure attached, any CCNRs. There's a well, say there might be a well disclosure on there, like all this valuable information now the local agent can't see, and they have to track down the selling agent. Now, say you want an appointment to see it. The local listing service, say Sedona Verde Valley, they have these super key boxes, we call them, and you put that lockbox on the house, and then local agents can use their cell phone to gain entry to that lockbox to get the key to get inside. So if you don't have a local agent and you've got the Phoenix lockbox on there, now the local agent has to make special arrangements to get the key. Do I have to go to your office? Did you hide it under a rock? Or did you put a contractor box with the code? The other thing is, if you want to show it, there is no access to the local showing tool that I could just go in right now and put an online request. Oh, we want to see this at Friday at 3 o'clock. It texts the agent, they text back yes or no, and now you know you have an appointment. And you also don't see the notes that, oh, there's an elderly person who can't leave the house, or don't let the cat out when you're all those notes you can't get. So you're actually working a little bit blind because it's only showing up in Zillow, and Zillow doesn't have all that private information that the agents need to sell your house. So all of that valuable information that's on the local listing that the local agents are seeing, the one that are going to bring you the buyer, is no longer visible to the agent, and the agent has to jump through screaming hoops to get to that information. So I'm going to give you an example. Actually, I have two examples that are great to illustrate this point. So this morning, one of my clients, who is a great guy, he knows all sorts of stuff, he texts me and he says, hey, look at this house on blah 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 street in Sedona, they just dropped their price by $100,000. Look at that. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So I go to look it up. I'm in the Sedona Verde Valley MLS and it's not there. It's like, what is he talking about? That's a house not for sale. And I'm like, oh, let me go find it. So I log out of Sedona and I bring up Phoenix, and sure enough, the house is listed in the Phoenix area MLS only, not in Sedona. So the local agents aren't seeing it. Now I look and see they've just dropped their price by $100,000 because they haven't been able to sell it in 6 months. And also the listing had expired. So it had been on the market for 6 months and then they had to relist it, and it's now had to drop the price by $100,000. And I'm thinking, wow, you know, just a month ago I had a buyer in town from the East Coast, and this house fits their criteria. If I had known it was for sale when I was showing them around, I would have brought them in to see that house, and maybe they would have made an offer on that a month ago. But no, now you had to drop the price by $100,000. So they missed that opportunity. They missed many opportunities by putting it in only the Phoenix MLS that's not getting on those automatic drip campaigns by all the local agents. Now, sometimes I'll go in and I'll set up a second drip campaign on Phoenix if they're looking for very specific property, but most of the time I don't, because that means now my buyers are getting a double whammy, and a lot of them will be repeated, so they're going to get ticked off. You're sending me too many emails because you're going to have to go through and maybe you'll find this one gem, but maybe not. So a lot of missed opportunities for buyers who are working with local agents to see your house. So that is another case where, like, why didn't that agent just spend $800 to join the Sedona Verde Valley Association of Realtors and get it listed there? Like, you know, spend $800 to join the local association and maybe you would be able to make that $25,000 commission, but you're so cheap that you don't do that. So that also was like a red flag, like, why aren't they doing that? Now, there's another instance that I can think of. About a year ago, I sold a place in Rimrock, which is a really tiny area here in Sedona Verde Valley. And again, I didn't see it because my buyer texted me and said, hey, what about this one? And so I went and I found that in the Prescott Area Association of Realtors, but it was listed by a local Phoenix agent again. And what had happened is this agent was ambitious, and she's like, I'm selling a house up here. I'll go join the Association of Realtors and put it in the proper Association of Realtors. But she was so unfamiliar with Northern Arizona that she didn't know where Rimrock was, and she listed it in the Prescott Area Association of Realtors. So again, the local people in Sedona weren't sending that out in the email drip to people who were looking in Rimrock, and a lot of people didn't see it. Now, I, of course, had to go and now I'd log into Prescott. Oh yeah, I subscribed to Prescott, so I was able to do the deal, gain entry, make the appointments and all that kind of stuff. But we got that for $30,000 under asking price, and while we were in contract, some of the other agents were like, yeah, if I knew about that Rimrock house, I would have offered full price. So that right there shows that the seller lost $30,000 just because the agent put it in the wrong MLS because they were not familiar with the market up here. So again, just one example right there can show how that is a very costly mistake. There was another instance where I had a buyer looking at a piece of land in Camp Verde, and I sometimes will go out if somebody's out of state and they want to see a property. I'll go out with my video camera and I'll walk around and send them a little private video. So anyhow, they're like, I want you to go to this address and find out about this piece of land. And I'm looking, I looked in Sedona Verde Valley MLS, I looked in Prescott area MLS, I looked in Flagstaff, I looked in Phoenix. It's not in any of the Arizona MLSs. And so I finally tracked down the agent. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I have it listed in a national registry. Like, wow, you know, if your guy is so laissez-faire, doesn't care about your listing that much, that he's got some national land registry that the buyer's agent has to jump through hoops to get information about it, that again is a red flag. And I did eventually go out and do a showing of the property with my camera, but it turned out it was in a flood zone and my buyers decided to pass. So I'm going to give you one last example on why you should avoid listing with an agent who's not familiar with the local area. Say you've got your Uncle Bill and he lives in Phoenix with you and he's like, oh yeah, I can list your house in Flagstaff for sale, you know, list it with me. And sometimes that's because the agent is very inexperienced and they're so hungry to do a deal that they don't care that it's way beyond their scope, way beyond their expertise, and it's 3 hours away. They're willing to do the deal. A lot of the experienced agents will be like, no, I don't want to list your house in Tucson because, you know, that's 4 hours from me and I don't live live in Tucson, I don't know Tucson, so I'm going to refer it to one of my partners. But if you've got a brand new hungry agent, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll list it anywhere. I'll go to Lake Havasu. That's another thing. People ask me about Lake Havasu. It's like, I'm sorry, it's just too far, and I refer them. But if it was a brand new agent, he might be like, yeah, I'll go to Lake Havasu, or yeah, I'll go to Tucson. So you also have to be aware of somebody who's super eager to list your house and it's 200 miles away. It might be because they're just so desperate for a deal that they don't care that they're not really qualified to do the sale. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found the information in this useful. Again, please don't make the mistake and lose a ton of money on the sale of your home. My name is Dawn Dickinson and I am a realtor. I sell primarily in Sedona and Verde Valley. I also sell in Flagstaff, in the Flagstaff area. I actually did work primarily out of Flagstaff for a few years, but I also have partners in Flagstaff. I have partners in Prescott Valley, and I have partners in Phoenix. If you're curious about any of those areas and you're interested in buying or selling a home, please give me a call, text, email, and I will get back to you. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are looking for this type of content, I post videos every single week, so consider subscribing to the channel, and I hope to see you back here again next week.